It's such like a happy like.
I am happy. That's so good.
What's going on, everybody? We're excited to have you this morning. Unicorn Finders in the house.
What up?
Eventually, we'll get LinkedIn Live for Unicorn Finders. That is on me.
It is on you.
It will happen soon.
Until then, we'll just feed Taylor's followers.
Yeah, exactly. Add us, comment us, let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you. Again, we're excited to come to you all live this morning. We're actually really excited, at least I am, about tomorrow. So for those of you who are tuning in, we're actually talking about NFTs, non-fungible. They could have picked a better word for the fungible piece. I feel like there is a lot of other words out there that could have been not as
well.
weird.
I mean, it's an economics term.
Yeah, they actually weren't going.
I don't think that they invented the term. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Well, for those of you who are tuning in, I do not know economics. And so NFTs tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Central. We are having two individuals. Jake, do you want to talk about them real quick?
People.
Yeah, really excited here. So the two folks that we've got going tomorrow, they've got a startup that allows, before NFTs were mainstream and cool, that allowed you to be able to make pretty much anything NFT and have a whole play space for how that you could use blockchain in different ways and things like that. They also hold a couple patents from previous companies around blockchain technologies. So they're going to hopefully break it down for us to layman's terms about what in the heck NFTs are, why you should or should not invest in them, and why you should or should not create them, and what you can do with them. So I'm really excited.
That.
We should create a unicorn NFT, Unicorn Finders NFT.
Totally, yeah.
And it's just like a picture of us. All of our podcasts and live streams are now NFTs.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
That's it. You're welcome.
That brings us to talking about merch. We've got merch coming real soon. We're starting with NFTs because we know you want to wear something digital somehow with Unicorn Finders on it.
Yeah, so we're really excited. So merch is rolling out. We're very excited about that. So that should hit. Dan, what do you think? Next week?
Oh, yeah, probably.
This weekend?
Yeah, maybe this weekend, maybe Thursday afternoon,
cool.
Friday.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we'll have a bunch.
So merch is coming. So we're very, very excited to share that with you all. So let's go ahead and dive in. For those of you who are tuning in, thank you again. Know what's going on. It's good to see you. Bring the 78 in the house. For those of you who are tuning in now, LinkedIn just sent a notification. So we're probably going to have some people trickling in now. So if you missed our announcements for the last 2 minutes, one, NFTs tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Central. Two, merch is Unicorn Finders merch is rolling out here in the next few days. We're going to talk today about career progression. And we're going to talk today about career progression when it comes to the software space. We're also going to talk about career progression too, just at a 30,000-foot view, because I think that's something that we all see day in, day out as individuals within our own markets. What companies are doing career progression well, which ones are not doing it well, which ones are not fostering an environment to grow. And so we're going to talk about it here for a few minutes. Again, a few people. Becky, what's going on? Good morning. Matthew, what's going on? Good morning, buddy. It's good to see you. So Jake, Dan, let's go ahead and dive in.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I would like to go first on this one.
Oh, here we go.
So first of all, I am thankful. This sounds weird, but I'm thankful for some people that really aren't trying to run the rat race and need to have an additional, hey, every year I got to hit this, and this, because that's what really keeps like the entire engine of the companies running, right? You need both. You need people that want to have the career progression. You need people that just like, man, I just want to be really fulfilled in my day-to-day and the job that I'm doing and do it with excellence and support my team. So first of all, thank you. I am not someone that's good at being content. So
I'm terrible at it. I am the antithesis of being content.
So I will continue to do random side hustles and all sorts of stuff in order to keep going, right? But I'm very thankful for great teammates that move on. So that being aside, my favorite company engagement that I've seen, and a lot of bigger companies have really found it, I think it actually started with IBM, is having two career progression tracks, technical and managerial, right? Because in that same vein, not all people that are good at that one job mean that they're makes them good at leading other people to do that same job? Or do they want to? And it shouldn't be that they have to, in order to get raises or bonuses or equity, have to go down a management track or have to go down that track, because it only disengages them because they don't get to do the stuff they love, and it disengages the rest of their team. So that, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on that in general, but I've seen that a lot more, people catching on to it. I think it's super cool.
Jake, I love that. I want to hit on that, and then I think we can kind of break your comment into just kind of lead our entire conversation. Is, let's start with the leadership track. What does that look like, and what are you doing to empower your leaders, right, or your future leaders? What kind of education, what kind of training are you going to do? What kind of assessment are you doing to make sure that they're going to be a good leader for your organization, right? I mean, we talked about it right before the show started, is just because you're the best developer, the best salesperson, the best finance person, doesn't mean that you're the best leader of those people. And you know what? That's okay. I know that you guys weren't in fraternities, but I think of like going back to like when I was in a fraternity, like you didn't just put your best recruiter as your rush chairman, right? Because it's like a different skill set, right? Like there's organization, there's leadership, there's communication, logistics, organization, that like maybe a good person that does it really well is not the best at doing something else, right? So I think that that's important. Like when you think of like the sales world or in the leadership world too, is what kind of assessment, what kind of evaluation are we doing on somebody as a future potential leader? And then what are we doing to try to pull and mold that out of them to make sure that they can actually lead other people? And likely it's going to be very, very difficult because they're thrown into a fire of likely now leading people that they were peers with just the day before, right? So what are we doing to make sure that we're putting those folks in a position to be successful and not just say, hey, you're our new manager of app dev, go manage, right? Or go direct or go VP something, right?
Man, we can't tell you how many people we talked to that end up getting into that promotion kind of just because they were in the right room at the right time, and they're not going to say no to a $20,000 pay bump and something looks good on a resume. Get in there, and it was not a good choice.
You heard it here first at Unicorn Finders. Fraternities have better organizational structures than development teams. So there we go. Happy Wednesday. I think my thought is, I think there's not a lot of companies doing it the right way. And so I talk about this a ton when it comes to the job search, right? What is your why? What's driving your search? Is it money? Is it title? Is it responsibilities? Is it commute? Is it tech? Like, what is it? But I think you need to ask yourself the why when it comes to your career, right? So, I mean, I text with a lot of devs, even actually recently, about offers. And, our Unicorn family, Ryan Burgess, tweeted yesterday that he's seen so many developers bounce in the last 6 months that the pandemic has caused people to become restless. And I think that tweet is so important and valid to what we're talking about today, because I think you need to and I'm talking to myself, like, let's be honest, right? I'm extremely always uncontent. Not content, uncontent. I don't think uncontent's a word. I'm not content. Malcontent. And so you have to figure out what do you want to do? What really charges you up every morning? And I think if it's not leadership and the company's throwing leadership at you, don't take it, but have an educated conversation with leadership of your company. Like, hey, there's got to be something else. Like, this can't be the only way for me to advance my career because I'm not called to do this. So I didn't know if y'all had any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I think that like you said, Taylor, you need to figure out what you consider advancing is, right? Because it's not just climbing the corporate ladder, right? Because climbing up the corporate ladder, like, not only does it put you higher on that like pyramid where it's like very tough to like pivot from where you're at, it also could potentially limit the scope of the work that you can do, to severely stress you out. It can bring you a lot of anxiety. It can bring you a lot of extra workload, right? So for you as an individual, when you're evaluating all of these things about what's your why, right, or what's your next path, is you need to also understand what is ahead of you on that path, right? If I want to be a CIO or a CTO, what do I need to know to get there? But not only that, what is it that's required out of me once I enter that role? Right. So those are all, I mean, a lot of this is a fact-finding mission. And I'm guilty of it, right? In 2012, I took a job, a big promotion for me, because I was like, oh man, this is going to put me exactly where I need to be. I got into that role. I'm like, I am so wholly unprepared to be in this role, and this is not what I thought. But because for me, I just thought that that was the next logical step. And if I would have done just a little bit more research and a little bit more thought, and not just get excited about like the pay raise and like the opportunity, like I could have saved myself like a ton of stress and a ton of pressure. So know what you're getting yourself into, and know what those options are available for you before you jump and immediately just accept that role.
I love
It's hard
that.
too, because the pressures around the rest of your life make you think, either it's a keeping up with the Joneses thing, or it's a, oh crap, we just had another kid and I need to make more money, like need support, this, and this.
It's just a rat race, man. It's just,
keep
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think too, I think companies need to be mindful of this as well. Is the companies that I've seen do a good job of promoting good culture within promotions is there's clearly defined dev 1, dev 2, dev 3, senior, lead, and staff, principal. And then you have somebody like Eventbrite, who we're starting to work with, who they have like their top is called
What a big deal.
Like their top is called fellow. Like they only hand out like 5 fellow positions in like the entire company. And so like for me, I think companies who are watching this, hiring manager watch this, I think individuals, this goes back to what individuals want. I've seen an increased emphasis in the dev community around they want to mentor and they want to mentor, teach. And they also want to have time to learn new tech. And I think if you can channel all of that within your job titles and job responsibilities, you're going to keep people a lot longer. Money's great, right? But I think at the end of the day, I think you need to give people more than money, and you need to have clear, defined paths to grow within an organization. There's 2 companies in Nashville that do it extremely well off the top of my head. I'll give them a shout out here. I think Built Technologies does a really good job here in Nashville on creating a very good promotional path with engineers. I think obviously Eventbrite, I'm learning more about their culture as we speak. So then the third one is a company called Evercore. Evercore has done an amazing job. Their emphasis is on community and training and having a clear promotional path. And so shout out those 3 companies from at least giving a clear defined path of promotion.
How do you think that, do you see like a good amount of retention from those companies specifically?
It's crazy.
Hard to pull people from.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I mean, yeah. I think, if I was a company and you want to try to save some money, I would pay maybe a little bit under, but I would put more emphasis on everything else, right? Like if you're a company and you're on the accounting side and you're trying to save money, maybe don't throw salaries at people, but then you have to really build in, like really sit down and think about what you want to offer your employees. But yes, to answer your question, Jake, those 3 companies have very little turnover.
Now look, I've got a buddy of mine who works in Big 4, and the amount of money that they pour in to training and continuing education and certifications and literally whatever the heck you really want to learn to better yourself and your career, they will pay for it. Now, He might be running a $15 million project and only make $100,000 that year, right? But he can learn so much more than he ever would, which is why, when people get out of there after like 3-4 years, people are dying to scoop them up into their companies because they've had all this training. Right. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important in any, no, you're fine. In any sort of leadership role or HR or, who's ever deciding, career paths for people, is to really sit down and know like what else is happening in the market, but sit down with your employees. What do they want? Right? Are they looking for search? Are they looking for an opportunity where 10% of the week, I know Microsoft does this, where 10 or 15% of the week is focused on things outside of your job, right? You can get certifications, you can, do your own like dev project that like can bring something to the table. Maybe you sit down and have a coffee over something with that totally unrelated to the work that you're doing, that day with somebody else in a different department. Yeah, just both those things are things that you need to sit down with your client or your employees and talk about what they want, and then be able to offer, what that is. Because like you said, Jake, it's not always about salary, right? If I can go and I can become, get my PMP certified or my CISSP paid for, like that to me is worth more. And like all of the educational material and everything else is worth more than $40 extra a week in take home pay.
Well, I feel like
not to mention the taxes are different if you're going to get through training versus if I'm going to get an extra $50,000 a year, especially for companies that end up paying for MBA programs and things like that through stipend and stuff. That is a totally different way of compensating people, because as taxes go up, whew.
Noah goes, how do you know if joining a startup can turn into a career?
How old are you?
I don't think it matters, right? Like, right. I don't know, like, if that, well, I know you're kind of tongue in cheek, Jake.
Here's why. I think that you should join a startup straight out of school if you possibly can, because you're going to have to wear every single hat. You're going to, especially if you're coding, you're going to actually have to code, as opposed to taking this job at Fidelity, which starts out at $70K, or you get siloed into one little teeny sliver for 3 years and then you don't actually know anything, right? Go do whatever the heck you can, in my opinion. Just volunteer at a startup. Like, go do everything you can in order, because it's going to actually let you have real experience. So yes, I completely think it will get you a better career path, at least a better understanding of the inner workings of pieces of a business you would never have been able to have touched if you went straight to an enterprise shop.
Agreed.
So Jake, you and I are on this exact same token, just kind of a different perspective. Is I think that no matter what, Noah,
a non-fungible token.
Yeah. At 21 years old, whatever you learn in a startup, whether you stick around, sorry, there's some excitement going on outside of my office that I'm missing out to hang out with you boys. No matter when you join, how long you're with them, and if you're with that company for 6 months or 60 years, you're going to learn so much during that time that I would say take a jump at it. If you're looking for actual tangible things, if you can look at it, if it can ever turn into a career, is, who's investing, what is the product, who are the other players in that business, what other players are now investing in that business, right? Like, if you're a financial capital and markets data company, who are your investors, who's on the board? Like, that'll tell you a lot about who, about what the viability of that is. But no, I would say find something you're passionate about, find something that you don't mind doing a lot of dirty work at, and also know that whatever job you signed up for is likely going to be 100% different every single week. So,
yeah, that's also that's a good point about leaning in. Some people will silo themselves even though they have the opportunity to be able to touch a bunch of different things. If you're going to lean into anything, at least lean into, how can I keep my hands on? How can I understand the business impact that the technology I'm delivering has? And how do I immerse myself into, hopefully you're in a community that's very entrepreneurial, and that you can just start talking to all these other startups, and how are you handling these problems? And then you build your network so much more rapidly, again, than if you were just to jump into an enterprise shop.
I love that. Well, boys, I think that was a good one. I appreciate
we missed the complete other side of the coin too, which is exciting.
Yeah. So let's talk about that next week. Let's talk about next week. So we talked about leadership and so let's talk about the tech side next week. But y'all, thank you for tuning in to Unicorn Finders. We appreciate it. Tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Central, non-fungible tokens.
And remember, there's nothing wrong with being an individual contributor.
There's nothing wrong with being an individual contributor. I'm going to leave you with those words from Dan, the man in Tampa. We appreciate y'all a ton. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning.
Later.